I'm slightly frightened here. I think it's the first time.
Don't be scared.
That we've given Greg a homework assignment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's maybe the first time he's actually done his homework in his entire life, too.
I did it. I did it.
I don't believe you.
Basically, because we know if you follow Greg on Twitter, he's been following all these rumors that of all these names that are being thrown out there for Bears head coach. So I said, Greg, since you want to talk about this and because you're following it so closely, we would like to toss it over to you. I want you to play reporter on this. Report on the reporters.
Yes, we will report on the reporters here. A lot of rumors flying around now that Matt Eberflus has been fired. Coaches trying to put their, name in the hat, for the opportunity to be the head coach of the Chicago Bears. So I want to keep you guys up to date on who's saying what. And as we progress through the rest of the season and as we get into the offseason, the rumor mill is just going to continue to churn. So I want to start out here. We'll start slow with Ian Rappaport. He put out, a lot of different videos coming out on Sunday right before, the game started up. Ian Rappaport saying Kliff Kingsbury is an interesting name to watch. And obviously Kliff Kingsbury, is attached to, Caleb Williams, and I think they still have a close relationship. And so I think there's some validity to that report as we have the graphic up. If you want to pull that one back up for me, Steven, I'll run you through. Mike Florio is suggesting this morning that the Bears should inquire about trading for Kyle Shanahan. And you might have heard from a different insider last week who did appear on the show, Brad from San Fran, who is in a family of coach saboteurs. He has a cousin from Chicago that may or may not have had a hand in the head coach in Chicago getting fired. Well, Brad is doing his hard work trying to get Kyle Shanahan fired from San Fran for different reasons that I won't state. And now, oddly enough, the Bears and San Fran play here on Sunday, so it'll be interesting to see how that all goes. And so the big name that came out Sunday morning was Marcus Freeman. And Marcus Freeman, the head coach from Notre Dame, obviously Jonathan Jones put out an article from CBS, reported that the Bears were interested in Marcus Freeman. But if you're paying attention to our program here, our insider here at CHGO Sports, Adam Hogue, was the first to put his name in the consideration ring on Wednesday. Before the game was even played on Thursday, Adam Hogue had him on his early short list of candidates to be considered. He also added in Dan Lanning from Oregon.
And then everybody yelled at me.
And then, of course, Peter Schrager of NFL Network does great work. Apparently wasn't paying attention to any of the other reporting and going around the league, and apparently doesn't watch our program. So that's a shame on him, thinking he was the first to mention Marcus Freeman and thinking he was making the waves for Marcus. But I'm sorry, Peter. Early bird gets the worm, and the early bird was Adam Hogan and Jonathan Jones. So credit to them. So now we start to really get into the teeth of this thing. Jay Glazer, who is somebody that is heavily connected with Hallis Hall. This was pretty funny in the morning. These were the two different lists of names he had up. He called it a bear market and had offensive and defensive coaches listed. And as you can see, he has 15 names here on this list. Thomas Brown also not included in the list of all the different offensive options and all the different defensive options. No Dan Lanning, no Kurt Signetti, no Marcus Freeman, no Thomas Brown amongst the 15 names that Jay Glazer's putting out there. So you can see just how chaotic the speculation is going to go here as we try to figure out who the next head coach will be. But these are all the names that you have to consider. And then finally, we land on, of course, Ben Johnson, who is, for Bears fans, the darling for most Bears fans of, who they want as their next head coach for the Chicago Bears. So to keep you up to date, Albert Breer about a month ago on Cap and J Hood said that he was interested in the Bears job last year, that being Ben Johnson. Adam Schefter back then said he wasn't so sure of that, and then all of a sudden Sunday morning, Adam Schefter changed his tune and said Ben Johnson would be interested in it, but had the caveat of, can the Bears convince Ben Johnson to come to the Bears. So that had a lot of ears perked up. Does that mean money? What does that mean? But that's what Schefter's saying. Benjamin Albright, who's certainly connected and has had some different things out there that he's gotten correct, working out in Denver, covering the NFL. His pinned tweet right now is him predicting Ben Johnson to the Chicago Bears. So it's 3 pretty big insiders that are connecting Ben Johnson with the Bears. Albert Breer was also on this morning with our guy, David Kaplan, and Jonathan Hood. And he said the Bears need a program leader. Mentioned Mike Vrabel. He also mentioned Brian Flores, a former college teammate to Ryan Poles. And then, of course, said Bill Belichick would make a lot of sense for the Chicago Bears. And if you go back and listen to that, he really had like a pretty hard sales pitch for Bill Belichick. And that just surprises me because of all the insiders that are out there, I think for me, Albert Breer is the one I pay attention to the most. If you looked at his detailed reporting in the offseason of how their process of finding Caleb Williams and trading Justin Fields, it was step for step. He might as well have been writing from Ryan Poles' itinerary schedule. That's how detailed it was. And so I just think if you're going to pay attention to anybody, for my money, Albert Breer is probably the first guy. And Albert Breer was the first to report that Caleb Williams was, or not Caleb Williams, was the first to report that Matt Eberflus was fired on Friday. So I think there's some validity to paying attention to what Albert Breer is saying. He puts out Bill Belichick this morning. So there's just a lot to cover here, and we have 2 months to go, and it's going to be hard to, get through all the speculation, but that's what we do here. We're going to organize it for you, and we're going to have our own conclusions. Adam's going to do his digging. Mark will try to work on the stadium deal, and then we will come up to the conclusion of what the Bears finally decide.
Yeah, really well done. Really well done. Yeah. When did you start talking? How long ago?
Dude, how about you do another,
No, you didn't.
Carm's notes.
I think that's
those
a great idea.
scintillating segments.
I thought that was great. I'm insulted you're going to listen to Albert Breer over me, but
I'm listening.
That was a good summary because I got to be honest with you. A, there was way too many names being thrown out Sunday morning for me to give any credibility to anything. And B, I was busy at a charity event, so I honestly missed a lot. I couldn't keep track of who was saying what or where or when. So, in conclusion, every single candidate is a candidate. Good luck.
We all silly like the mayor.